when we see people with extreme views of the self, whether it's extremely positive views, self-view, or extremely negative self-view, we can see it in their body, in their posture, and we realise that these people are moving their body and sitting and standing and walking in a way that feels comfortable to them. It feels appropriate. Whether someone is walking, someone like Liam Gallagher, the first thing I think of is his posture and the way he walks, portraying confidence. And whether that's genuine or not, it's not for me to say. And when we think of someone frightened, we can't imagine a frightened person to have their body present in a way that, the same way that Liam Gallagher does on stage. We think of them as protecting themselves, even if they know they're not in any physical danger. They're protecting their body as if they were. And these habitual patterns form our personality, and it's easier to see with extreme views, with people with extreme self-view. But it's there in all of us, some sort of self-view that I'm good or I'm bad or something, and this is all held in the body. It's in the way we walk and everything, and everything we do. Our mannerisms, the way we pick up a cup, the way we wash up, or our handwriting. This is all evidence of positive or negative self-view to a certain extent. And when we start realising by sitting in meditation on the body or yoga or whatever it is, we realise we're a lot happier when we release these tensions, and if we've had a stressful day at work, we've heard some things that are unpleasant, or we're worrying about things, or we've been given too much to do, we get home and we can feel it in our body. We might feel it in the back of our neck, we might feel it in our jaw, or wherever, and it's because we've been in our heads and not in our bodies. And obviously at work we can't sit in, well, unless you're a meditation teacher or a monk, you can't spend your day meditating for a living. So there is an element of having to think, but we can just devote a little bit of our energy just to trying to maintain some awareness of the body throughout daily life, and we try and notice these tensions in the body. If we're driving and we start to think about either someone that's cut us up in front of us, and BMW driver that needs to undertake us and get in front, and we've all experienced those reckless BMW drivers, or even worse, Audi drivers. And then we might think of all the other BMW and Audi drivers that have wronged us, and then we might think of our boss or that teacher that accused us of the one thing that we didn't do, that one time we didn't do it, and we're in this negative spiral of anything. If we notice that in the mind, it'll certainly have already existed in the body, and we can then go to the body and say, oh, look at me, I'm suffering. Where is this suffering in it? It might be in the jaw, it might be in the back, in your back, it might be in your shoulders. And then we can relax the shoulders, and then the mind can go back to sanity, rather than spiraling and creating problems in our minds. And when we practice Vipassana meditation, we can reasonably quickly, in a short space of time, notice the body sensation arises on a subtle level before the thought. So we can feel our shoulders tense, or the back of our neck, and we go, oh, I know what happens when I start tensing in this way, and we can relax our body and calm ourselves down before we even start that habitual negative thought spiral. So I find Vipassana meditation quite a practical way of checking in on the body throughout the day. And it doesn't need to be a formal meditation. It doesn't need to be a mindfulness clock on your computer that reminds you to be a good person and check in on the body, but it can be just a daily way of life, a subtle way of doing things. And some advice that was given to me was, whenever you'll do something, try and do it as gently as possible. Whenever you open a door, try and open it, work out how you can open a door with the least amount of pressure on the handle. Can you close the door with the least amount of pressure? And it's not to say we go to the extreme, do it in slow motion. I'm not saying that we should act in slow motion, but there's a difference between doing something with the least amount of necessary force and doing it in slow motion. So when we're making a cup of tea, we can put the cup down normally, but without it banging onto the surface. We can do things with grace, and that practicing of graceful movements with making a cup of tea or anything like that, it can be that trigger just to relax us again. And even if we're making a cup of tea at work, there's that 2-minute period where we're waiting for the kettle to boil. We can always check in on our body and our breath when we're doing that, rather than using that 2 minutes to, I don't know, fuck about on our phones or whatever we do when we're waiting for something. We can use, or at the checkout, we can use that 2 minutes at the checkout to not doom scroll, but instead just to have 5 nice breaths, or just to relax our shoulders that we've forgot that that were tighter than a violin, and just trying to incorporate those moments into our life. And it's not like we're trying to change who we are, but we're trying to find out who we are, and having that richer inner world where we're aware of our body in the present moment is beneficial, because it stops us living in our mind. And people who live in their mind, and we're all insane to a certain degree, but we realise that the more time we spend in our mind, the more insane we get. And I certainly remember my first meditation retreat. I realised quite how insane I was by how much of my life I'd spent creating a universe inside my head of interpretation of, this person is like this, that person is like that, and you can create a whole identity of a person in 3 emails, like this is a good person, this is a bad person, when really we haven't got enough information to make a judgment. But we can create a whole universe of, these people are good, these people are bad, I like this, I don't like that, and it's all just a manifestation of thought in our head. And it's got nothing to do with reality, because usually we don't have enough information to form judgments about anything. But we like to create create rules and meaning and interpretation, and that's just a madness. That's just creating a fantasy world in our heads, and rather than just not doing that and seeing what happens, and as soon as we stop creating like a world of positive things or negative things and interpreting the world as awful is just as delusional as interpreting everything as wonderful, or trying to interpret things as positive all the time, or trying to create a personality that always thinks of everything as wonderful. It's just exhausting when we could just stop all of that and just enjoy being alive. We don't need to document every interaction we have and log it in the thing and have this interaction with the captain of the ship that's always trying to interpret the world. We can just actually just be alive. And I'm not going to go so far to say we should be human. We're not human doings, we're human beings, because those sort of things really, but yeah, I'd like to think of something like that, but not quite as, I don't know, vomit inducing, but I can't, so I'll leave that for you to think of. But yeah, I think that's about as much thought as I can come out of my brain today. So thank you for listening. Hopefully if it was worth anything, thank you. Cheers.